Hey, good morning, folks. So, I'm on a new property. I got permission from a friend. I got looted just a little bit ago. I got 2 birds to strike over here. I'm not really familiar with this property, so I'm letting it get a little bit more light. It's still dark in the woods. He just gobbled for the first time on his own. I know there's another one that's closer that I'm hoping sounds off, and then I'll formulate a game plan, so we'll see. At least 2 gobblers hammering. It's been a sound I haven't heard in a while, really. So we'll see what we can do. Some time. Let's see what they do. Well, folks, we weren't able to get this bird on camera. I ended up going ahead and ditching the camera. I'll show you where I was. So there's a finger right here. If you can see, kind of extends on out through there. Well, anyways, out that finger is where the birds were. Got you real close up there. That's where they were gobbling this morning. So first, I ended up going ahead and setting the decoys out, and you can see this is a big hay field. And I ended up setting the decoys right out here in front of me, and then that big tree I got at the base of it. Well, you can see it's kind of lit up. Well, first thing this morning, the sun was coming up over right there, and it was beating right on it. So once the gobblers flew down, they shut up, and they went on behind me. So I spun around from that tree and came around to this tree.
So anyways, I sat there working them for a while from there, and what I could hear was that they circled out in front of me. And I could tell from on my map, because this is a permission property that a friend let me, he messaged me or talked with me earlier in the week, and he said, hey man, go out here and kill a bird. And holy crap, thank you so much. I can't say thank you enough. But him and I were kind of texting back and forth, and I knew they were over here where he's been running his cattle, and the grass is down, you know, because he had talked about it too. He's like, man, they've been coming out in the field strutting like crazy, but now the grass is really high. And I questioned if they'd go over there. Well, ended up they did, and it was what I thought. There's almost no grass there because the cattle have ate it down. So I'm gonna walk you over and kind of show you what went on. You know, there's not a lot to this hunt, other than just, again, some spot and stalk. So you can kind of see how tall this grass is. As I made my way through here, you can kind of see my trail. Thank goodness I had my rubber boots on. And so I ended up making my way up here. I could hear the gobblers occasionally gobbling, so I knew they were henned up. They weren't responding 100% of the time. But I kept easing up through here, and I finally got up to a corner around some of these round bales, kind of hunkered down, and they weren't gobbling to let me know where they were, so I just eased up out of this grass. Here's the corner with the round bales. And I eased up out of the grass, and thankfully I could see their fans strutting over behind this hay feeder, this hay ring. And so I end up going ahead and crawling through this grass on up further, because I didn't think they were going to come through this wet grass, this big heavy grass. So here we go. So again, you can kind of see this. And I made my way up through here, up to this old bunk feeder. And I was able to hunker up against it down here, and I'll show you. This is kind of my view of looking out on the field. You can see the fence. So I kind of just hunkered here resting, and I could see them up through there in the field and right here. And I end up passing on one that was maybe 40 yards or so, but I wasn't sure if it was a gobbler. So anyways, I kind of got in the almost in like a crouching position to where I could stand up, and I was just doing some soft occasional calling, and I could tell one tom came down and worked his way down the field, and the others kind of stayed up here at the top. Well, I kind of was kicking myself when I'd let him go by and didn't go ahead and take the shot, but I could hear him still below me spitting and drumming, and the others were above me. Well, eventually I saw the others go from up here down the field over to that corner down there. So I put it into crawl mode again, crawled around the bunk feeder here, crawled up through this grass and kept this tree beside me, and I just kept kind of belly crawling up through here, and I made it to about right here, and you'll see my eventual trail there. Anyways, I got to about right here. Again, I'm hunkered down excuse me. And what I'm doing is I'm using these grasses right here to just keep them between me and them. And when the wind would blow, I could see it clear and see their fans, and just looking through it, I could pick out the red, white, and blue heads. And so I kind of just used that as a judge. So I kind of propped myself up a little bit. Well, the dominant bird had went down towards the shade area, and I could see him down there in that shade line, down past those down limbs and stuff in that shade area. So I was just being really cautious. I didn't want to bust him and then ruin the others. So the others were all with hens. He was with hens. They weren't really answering or responding. But anyway, what I thought was, is if I can get close enough, I can probably still get a shot, even with where they were standing. So what I did again is just crawl right up through here, and again, just kind of staying low, so you can kind of see. And I made it to about right here. And again, I just used this little wall right here between me and the birds that were in that corner down there, and the dominant one that was right there. So at this point, I went ahead and got out my pot call, just some real soft clucks and yelps because the dominant one had stepped back out in the field. Well, that kind of shot me in the foot because the others that were over there with hens, they immediately dropped away from her and came right over to him. They came out of strut. And then he was sitting down there by that down log or tree in the middle of the field. I gave him some of those soft clucks, yelps, and so a little bit of purrs, and very, very soft. And I just watched through the grass, and I could see the red, white, and blue coming closer. And then I saw him tuck his wings, come a little bit faster, come back out in the strut. And anyways, this opening that you can pretty much see right here through the grass, that's where once he came through, I just kind of eased up a little bit. He was kind of half strut with his head out picking a little bit, and popped him there probably at like maybe 40 yards. And he didn't even flop a bit. He just dropped in his tracks. But this is where they were, and especially for those of you that are wondering about fields and stuff, of course, you know, it's pretty much 2 days of season's all that's left, and, you know, excluding today. So today's Friday, Saturday and Sunday's left. But if you look, here's the difference. This field is so tall and thick, and then look at this field. And so it's also got a lot of clover in it. Of course, cow manure to pick in, but that's where the birds were. They came out of these woods and ended up being a ton of gobblers and a ton of jakes. And it's the first time this year I've actually had a feeling of being in the game, even though they wouldn't let me work them, of just at least being where there's birds. It's just been, for me here in West Virginia, the bird numbers on most of my properties are completely way down. But this one has a very healthy population of gobblers as well as jakes. There was at least 3 or 4 jakes in the group, and I'm guessing close to 7 gobblers. But anyways, what you'll do is, I've got the bird up at the truck now. I had to come back and get my camera equipment where I bailed on it. What I'm gonna do is go ahead, we'll get back, get some video and stuff, show you the bird. He has got giant hooks. That's the thing I was also super excited about, was that when I when I saw which bird was coming, I could tell it was the dominant one. And he came on a string once I ended up going ahead and getting him those soft clucks and purrs, because my thought was he stepped out of the woods. It doesn't look like he has a hen with him. The others were working that other hen, and he probably wasn't going to try to battle him for her. And he just came right in. He has at least, and I'm not measured yet, but just with my fingers and stuff, at least 1.5 inches, you know, approaching that 1 3/4 mark would be my guess. Big rope beard. Looks like he's definitely lost a lot of weight, but just a gorgeous gobbler. So guys, we'll see you here whenever we get him spread out and show you some footage of him and stuff. He is a gorgeous bird. So sorry I didn't get on film, but hopefully you guys got to see a little bit of this journey and how I went about being able to harvest this bird. Again, it was a 20 gauge with Viper ammunition, and like I said, probably 35-40 yards, and it flat out dropped him. He never even flopped. He just went straight down in his tracks. So all right, when you guys see me next, we'll be there behind the bird. So thanks for joining me. All right, guys, so here he is. Just again, I just want to say I'm blessed and thankful here in West Virginia to be able to go ahead and put one of my tags on this bird. Friend of mine gave me permission to go hunt this property. It's a property he hunts. He hadn't been hunting it this year, and ran into him the other day, and he's like, man, go after a bird on my place. And I'm glad I did. Thank you so much to him. But you know, as you guys see in the footage and stuff, I had to crawl in on this bird. There was like 5 or 6 other gobblers as well with him, a bunch of jakes and hens, and they were all henned up. They weren't saying much, but gobbling every now and then. But he had worked his way by me, and I just couldn't get him to get his head up because I was in that thick, tall grass, and I just didn't feel comfortable taking the shot. So he went down over the hill, or down at the end of the field, and worked his way into the shade with some hens. I ended up going ahead and working him a little bit. The other gobblers worked their way down to him. He finally, it looked like, broke off of a hen, came back out in the field. So gave him some soft clucks, purrs, and a little yelp. Next thing I know, I could see that he started closing the distance, you know, collapsed his wings and started walking, and then occasional strut. And he got me to about 40 yards, and Viper ammunition just dropped him in his tracks. I mean, he never even flopped. But beautiful bird, dominant bird for sure. You know, I could tell he was, the way he broke away from the other birds, which I'm guessing are 2-year-olds. And then when they walked up to him, they all came out of strut. And then now looking at him, I mean, he's got 1.5 inches, 1 5/8, maybe up to 1 3/4 spurs. I just know they're over 1.5 inches spurs. Old bird, very fortunate. Maybe one of the oldest, if not the oldest I've ever killed here in West Virginia. So very blessed. Again, sorry I wasn't able to get it all in footage, but Hopefully you guys enjoyed the story and following along with me at least on how I approached it and what I end up having to do. They all aren't just textbook where you just call them right into your lap, and especially there for me this year, they are just henned up like crazy. We've only got a couple days left of the season, and I was able to go ahead and fill a tag, so I'm tickled pink. But anyways, if you guys would like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, be bringing you more content. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.